Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We hope you had a good lunch break. A very warm welcome to all of you at today's live webinar. We are from the Star Event Unit, and this webinar is brought to you by Star Media Group in partnership with Cisco. Whether you are currently in Webex, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, thank you very much for joining us at this webinar. Well, how about you? We'd love to hear from you. Chat with us, let us know your thoughts. Type in the chat box or in the comment section. I am very grateful that I'm able to be here with you at this timely virtual gathering to talk about a very sassy topic. Do you miss being physically present at the office 5 working days in a week, or do you now much prefer the new hybrid work arrangement? According to Cisco's Future of Work study, 88% of workers in Asia Pacific, Japan, and Greater China are favoring a hybrid blend of office-based and remote work. This means organizations are putting themselves at risk, with their users accessing work applications from anywhere, and the apps they're accessing are just as distributed and dynamic. Not to make this too alarming, but do you know that Malaysia recorded the third highest phishing rate in Asia at 43%, according to the IDC 2020 Global DNS Threat Report? So, how can organizations keep this new distributed environment secure for users while maintaining a simplified cybersecurity infrastructure? Coined by Gartner just 2 years ago, Sassy, spelled as SASE or Secure Access Service Edge, is based on cloud-native capabilities that simplify the IT environment while improving security and enabling dynamic scalability. At this webinar, you will learn how Cisco Meraki is revolutionizing the future of networking security. Cisco's approach to SASE combines leading networks with security functionality into an integrated architecture to help secure access wherever users and applications reside. All right, I hope you are as excited and as eager as me to learn more about what exactly SASE entails. But before we begin, allow me to share a few quick reminders. Please be patient if you experience any technical or internet glitches during this webinar. If the session is disconnected abruptly at any point, please hang on tight, the show must go on. And we will definitely be right back in just a short while. If you need any assistance from us, please chat with us, or you could even email us at events@thestar.com.my. If you have any questions for our speaker or your organizational challenges or business concerns, please post it in the chat box or the comment section. Our speaker will address them at the end of the session. Be assured that we will keep this webinar to an hour. The session will be very short and simple, but we promise it will be precise and valuable to each one of you. Guys, I have exciting news to share with you. Please stay with us till the end of the webinar to complete a short survey, and you will stand a chance to win 500 ringgit worth of Grab vouchers. Though that's not it, you will also be able to gain access to an exclusive network security guide. So please do stay with us, and we will be sharing the access for you to complete the short survey. Now, let's bring on our speaker of this webinar. Derek is a solution specialist from Cisco Meraki with years of networking experience, and he would like to bring upon the concept of simplicity, security, and scalability through the Cisco Meraki platform. Before I hand over the floor to Derek, just a gentle reminder that if you have any questions to Derek, please post in the chat box or the comment section. Derek will address your questions at the end of the session. All right, Derek, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. And guys, please enjoy. Hey, Derek. You're muted. So sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sandra. Yep, apologies. I didn't know it got auto muted by itself. Yep. So definitely thank you very much, Sandra, for the very amazing introduction, like onto like the concept of Sassy as you have presented earlier on, and like how was it relevant to a lot of the audiences who are in this webinar today. Thank you very much for taking an hour off your busy schedules to really listen to us as we share insights and like the latest developments onto how Sassy is actually going to be a concept that is going to be relevant to all sizes of organizations, whether are you a small SME or even if you are a big corporate across Malaysia. Yep. So thank you very much for joining this webinar today. And I hope at the end of this topic, you will be able to be sassy and you are going to see how this is relevant for your organization as we discuss this very important topic. My name is Derek. I am the product specialist for this solution that's called Cisco Meraki in Malaysia. And definitely good afternoon to all audiences here. And very, very importantly, I would want to approach this whole topic today into like a few quadrants. Why is Sassy important for you? What exactly it is? And more importantly, how do we connect, converge, and also control the different types of traffic that you are seeing within your network to stay secure and ensure that the experience of all your users connecting to the network is going to be as safe as and best at the best capacity as possible. This is the second time I'm actually speaking to these audiences here, and I'm actually going to do a little bit of a rewind into like what that was actually discussed in the previous webinar, which I believe it is going to be something that is very apt, that is still something that is very relevant as definitely as we emerge from these MCOs that we had over like the past 1 year and over like how all of these different lockdowns have actually really taught all of us who are operating in a business, who are operating in whichever organizations you're in, to be really a lot more resilient and to really be a lot more adaptable to this current climate that we go through. So, why is this whole topic important for us today? I would like to circle back into like how definitely a lot of applications that we are using day to day is also changing tremendously to everyone that is in this call today. Instead of like how we are used to be in a physical event, as let's say I were to stand on the stage and were to present this whole topic to all of you, like what Sandra mentioned, we are actually doing this over a video conferencing platform. You are also using the web conferencing tools that Cisco has, or like some of our other brands that is more commonly used out there is also there for like a lot of our businesses. Web conferences is going to be something to stay, and you really do need to make sure that no matter where your users are connecting from or where are they talking to like your clients or collaborating with one another through things like a team collaboration tool, they need to have a really good experience connecting to the network. And also from the conversations that we are having with a lot of the customers out there, or like how we are also consulting with like let's say some of the customers who are in this webinar today, you have also been embarking on a digitalization journey where you are also using some of all these applications that you might not have once used, and it could be once a paper process that maybe you are using in the past, but right now with tools such as like Salesforce, with tools such as like an ERP system, you are using it more effectively to modernize your business operations. So that has also changed over the year. And but less the last part that is actually also very important, there are also a lot of distractions out there that could sometimes also form like a part of like a security concern, especially when you were to come across like any of the links that it could be like a new website that's created that maybe your friend accidentally shared. I'm pretty sure you have actually encountered this once before in like websites such as like Facebook, where I think like maybe a friend of yours, they click on a wrong link or something, and like there is a malicious application that is actually sending out messages on like a Facebook Messenger, or how if you were to accidentally click on the link, it could be like a phishing website. I'm pretty sure all of us can attest to something like this, where it is actually also becoming a lot more dangerous. And at the same time, I think in the previous webinar, we were also talking about the distractions that we have in the business environment has also increased, like things like Netflix, things like Spotify, things like YouTube. It's things that it's become part and parcel of our life, but sometimes it is not a very important application to be used within a business. So we also need to find a way of how we can control some of it. Workplaces, as always, like I'm pretty sure right now, it has also changed. Some of you guys are actually working in the office. Some of you are also working from home. Some of you could be on the road, and especially with how interstate travel has also changed, like the you can actually now travel across states into like Penang, into like Ipoh, into like other parts of Malaysia. Definitely, there's something exciting. But what that also means is that the workplaces, that how we used to work at work, it is also becoming a lot more dynamic. You can actually work from everywhere, and it actually poses one of like a very big challenges for an IT engineer or like an IT consultant within a business, where essentially you need to control all of these different users connecting from everywhere. You might have managers who are working from home, joining a video conference call, or hosting a town hall call from their home offices. You need to ensure that they have a good experience for that. You also do have huddle rooms within a office to ensure that you can still collaborate with people who are working from home, or even so, offices, the layout of offices right now is also becoming a lot more dynamic. There is a lot more open spaces, and you are also creating more video conferencing rooms to allow for like the higher media consumption that definitely you might need to control within your network. When we talk about security, I have actually changed like some of the articles to be more relevant to the dates that we are in for today's webinar. Definitely, I'm pretty sure for many of the audiences right there out there, you are getting also a lot more concerned into like the security situation that is out there, the cybersecurity situation that's out there, where there is a lot more things such as like phishing. There's more such as so many other things that it's related to like online malware attacks. That I'm pretty sure in the past I actually did talk about, hey, how you can like secure your network from like a very bare minimum to update your passwords regularly, update like the firmwares of everything that can be updated a lot more regularly as well. Those are the very bare minimum things that you can actually do. However, things like this you are still seeing in like the Startup page as we go on with our daily lives. As you browse through like LinkedIn or like Facebook, where there are still a lot more like local companies who are getting hit by ransomware attacks, which is something that is quite prevalent even to date. For this purpose of this webinar, I'm actually blurring out like the name of the company that is there. But definitely, if you are actually a part of that company, do reach out to us in Cisco, where we can actually help you consult to how you can better defend yourself as this goes on. But definitely to the rest of the audience out there, you need to be ready for all of these different new threat vectors that actually comes to your network, and better be prepared than later. As people always say, prevention is always better than cure, right? And there is also this very interesting article that I just read not too long ago. I think it was on last Friday, in fact, where basically there's this cybersecurity researcher from the US. He was actually talking about how some of the moves or some of the actions of a household cat can actually teach you about how to best defend yourself as and when you actually see like, hey, there is some attackers that in front of your door, like how that a cat first action would actually be to pounce on like the attacker and stuff. I mean, these are like some of the things that you should actually also consider within your organization to see how, when you detect any of all these attacks that there are, how you can actually automate some of all these attacks that, sorry, some of all this remediation that you actually have, and how us from Cisco, we can actually assist you to even prevent your users from connecting to some of all these malicious websites to begin with. So definitely, as we embark on this topic for security, for Sassy, it is something that I really do want to take a step back and get back to like the fundamentals into how best you can protect yourself, obviously. So this brings me on to like the next part. What exactly is this term that we call Sassy, which Sandra has actually did mention earlier on and like a quote from Gartner. It is a term that is coined by Gartner about like 2 years ago. That is a term that it's widely used by the industry as a whole. And I am pretty sure most of the vendors out there, they are also telling you this term that we call Sassy. But you might ask me, like, what exactly is it? Like, some customers are even starting to ask me actually, like, hey, I read this term from one of your presentations. It actually says about like how Sassy Secure Access Secure Services Edge is a consolidated architectural solution that provides effective and homogeneous levels of security, blah blah blah. Some of all these terms you might need to have like a English literacy degree, or you might need to be really proficient in the language in order to understand like what exactly does it mean, or you need to go through like hundreds of pages of documents. What I am actually trying to do in this webinar is I want to simplify this concept of Sassy to something that I'm pretty sure all of us Malaysians we can relate to, where I'm pretty sure back in your uni days, back in your college days, back in your high school days, this is a staple food that a lot of us we grew very fond and very familiar with, where essentially this is a pack of instant noodles that when you are hungry, this is the best way to feed your hunger at that time. So how do you cook a pack of instant noodles? It's very simple. You put the pack of the instant noodles into like a pot of boiling hot water. As you put it in, basically you can already eat it. If you were to buy like the ones that is like the barista kosong or whatever. But essentially, what makes a pack of instant noodles to be so delicious, to be so satisfying to feed your hunger, it is really the seasoning. And I am pretty sure all of us here, you are also very familiar with how good the curry flavor of the instant noodle were to taste. Same goes with your Sassy posture within your organization. There is going to be a requirement to have a few things in which definitely you already have like a part of your network that you are trying to secure. You are also having like the applications that your users are actually trying to connect to. And last but not least, more importantly, how can you secure all of these users, and how can you secure all of the different networks that you may have in your business when they try to connect to the applications? So this comes into like the picture of like the consolidated Sassy story that Cisco has, where we really do want to form a single platform to ensure that when your users are trying to connect, they will get like the best user experience, and they will stay secure no matter where they are connecting from, to which applications that you are using in your organization. And definitely this is how it looks like for how an architecture that many businesses is having right now, especially like pre-COVID, before like the whole MCO situation started last year, where yes, a lot of businesses, their security posture is to get many of all the users who are connecting from everywhere to connect back to like a single point, where it could be like like a data center or like a headquarters of like a company, where they have like a firewall there in order to connect out to the internet. So previously in the past, definitely the amount of traffic that is being used, it is also a lot less. But right now, the consumption of like the internet traffic is also increasing a lot more, which actually causes the experiences threshold to be worse for like maybe a lot of the users who are connecting remotely, for example. This brings upon a lot of challenges that is actually happening to many of the IT administrators out there, where your environment, undoubtedly, it could be complex in the past. It could also have like a lot of inconsistent security policies as and when like different users are connecting from everywhere. The way how you are trying to prioritize your traffic, or trying to have like the right quality of service QoS policies, it is also used to be very inconsistent. dependent on where users are connecting from, and especially upon how a lot of businesses out there, you do have many disparate security softwares, you do have many different networking monitoring tools. The visibility into like, hey, where are all my users connecting from? What are like the applications that they are trying to connect to? It can also be hard for you to get like the right visibility into your network. This leads to a lot of like other challenges where like the end user experience of connecting to all these applications, like I mentioned, it could be very varied, it could be bad, it could be good. It depends on like what time and where they are actually connecting from. And as and when you embark into new digital initiatives, the execution can also be hampered, where basically if your boss were to tell you that like, hey, I actually need this new software in order to allow for like a better tracking of my production levels in like a factory, for example, like how best can like the network team help me support like the introduction of this software into my business. It can also be hard for you to predict how much more bandwidth will things like that be taking up within your network. So this brings me to like the topic of how Cisco Meraki, we can be here to really assist you with this whole Sassy journey that you are going to go through, where undoubtedly it is going to be a journey. It is going to be a way of how your business is going to require like certain consultations to see where it will make sense for you to jump into like this bandwagon. Where would it make sense for you to secure which applications your users are trying to connect to, and what is the business outcome or like the business strategy that your business is trying to embark to over like the next few years? Because this is not going to be something where I can actually tell you that like, okay, if you were to purchase like this product, if you were to get like this software, your journey is complete. It is not going to be as simple as that, where essentially this is where we really do need to work with you, our dearest customers who are in this webinar, our dearest attendees who are actually in here, whether are you in finance, whether are you in like sales, whether are you in any other departments within the business, to really understand what would be the points that would make sense for you. And this brings me to like the three talking points that I believe Sandra also did introduce in her introduction speech, where essentially we are talking about how we are going to connect like the different users, how we are going to control like where they are actually trying to connect to, and essentially like the last part, how can we converge the management platforms into something that is simpler, into something that as we are based in the cloud, as what I believe one of the attendees were talking about, like how my t-shirt is really nice. Thank you very much. How using like the cloud management dashboards that Cisco Meraki we have actually built together with like some of our other Cisco acquisitions, like such as Cisco Umbrella, we can actually help you simplify this journey into something that is more easier to be consumed, to be something that is more realistic for your organization, and more importantly, to guarantee the quality of experience for your users. So when we talk about our vision into this whole topic, into this whole concept of Sassy, we are really making the forefront for this whole experience to be of that of the end user. That means whoever who is trying to connect to an application, whoever who's trying to connect in your network, we want like the quality of experience to be as best as possible. We want to ensure that the security of that particular user who's connecting within the network to be at the highest optimal level as much as possible when they connect to this platform. And we want to do it in the simplest way imaginable. Because what makes us different, like how can we ensure that this is possible for many of the end users out there, for many of the organizations out there? It is really because how we have like the unique end-to-end platform and the visibility that really comes with it, where basically if anybody were to connect via an end user device like a client, like a iPhone, an iPad, or whichever, how they were to connect to like the networking stack and how they were to connect out to the internet, we can actually ensure that the experience to be as best as possible as we monitor the application performance across the internet as well. And this is where, when we talk about connecting into like the different applications, whether is it like the SFDC or like Office 365 or like WebEx, as how we are having like this conversation with all of you right now, it is a SaaS or like a software as a service application. You do need to have a strategy to connect into it more effectively, or whether is it something that you are hosting it within a public cloud domain, such as like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, Alibaba Cloud. This is to name like some of the partners that us in Cisco we have. And how can we limit like the consumption of some of all these applications which might not be so relevant to many of the users, to ensure that if I would want my employees to be more productive, they will be able to connect using like the best way possible into all of these different applications that there is out there. And this brings me to the next part, where we already settled the quality of experience portion. Now we want to talk about how can we make the security part as secure and easy as possible through some of like the best in class protection that Cisco has actually invested very thoroughly. I'm pretty sure from the past webinar that you had with our sales director Ras Muhammad and also Ken Ang, he has introduced like this security investigation department of Cisco that we call Talos, where basically they have the best visibility into the whole of the internet to understand what are the new emerging threats that there is out there, and to analyze all of the different malware samples that maybe some of the users are trying to access to, but it could be something that will cause harm to a computer, like how I am actually doing this webinar from a computer, or how you are also connecting to this from your computer. How we can get as much visibility and data from the internet as possible. This department, or this particular portion of Cisco, this team, they are the best in class software investigation, or sorry, security investigation department that there is in the industry. And across all of our Cisco products, including like Cisco Umbrella, which is also forms part of like this whole security posture that we have in Sassy, where basically if we want to complete like the entire picture, like how I was showing in the instant noodle analogy earlier, they are also a part and parcel of this whole initiative, where essentially the umbrella solution will be the one that is going to secure your users no matter from where they connect from. And more importantly, they will also be the first line of defense to detect, okay, all of these different websites that a user were to try to connect to. Is it a website that is safe? Is it a website that is unsafe? There's definitely has already been deemed unsafe. There is some previous reports of like malware being hosted in that website. We want to block the users from accessing all of these dangerous websites from the get-go. Even things like phishing websites, things that are like emulating like how a banking website would be like and so on, we would already have the data that it is an unsafe website and we shouldn't allow any users to connect from. And more importantly, if it is a new website that we have never seen before, if it is a new website that has just been registered maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour ago, nobody has actually access to that before, suddenly it popped up very, very quickly because of how, remember I was talking about the Talos team having like the eyes and ears of the internet. They will be able to run this website on a sandbox, like as users were to try to connect to this. And from there, you can actually determine whether is it a website that is safe to connect to, or is it a website that is definitely unsafe? We can actually help you to define whether is it something that is safe or otherwise. And more importantly, through this solution, you will also be able to have like the best-in-class malware protection, the best-in-class acceptable use policy enforcement in order to ensure that, remember just now I was talking about how you can prevent users from connecting to certain things, or how you would really want to ensure that the users are not connecting to selected websites that's known to host malware. We will be able to help you to block it from this platform. And definitely, when you put two and two together, when you put the umbrella platform together with Meraki SD-WAN to complete the Sassy story, this brings upon the best-in-class solution that I believe many of the IT administrators would have a dream for tonight, into like how you can automate your responses to some of all these threats, how you can get like the best protection that there is out there from Cisco, and how the simplified management across the board between both ends would be the one that could make your lives easier in your company. And definitely, as and when we see new threats, you will get the capability to prevent your users from accessing those websites when that happens. And this brings me to the last part about converging the management into something that is simple, into making sure that the cloud first platform that I was actually talking about, like how the network stack, the security stack, everything will work in harmony, will work in unison. It will be something that needs to be powered from the Meraki platform. Because when we talk about the Meraki platform, I think this is something I introduced in the previous webinar. We are still a platform that is growing tremendously. We have actually added new capabilities into a lot of our products ever since we last talked the previous time. And definitely, this will be the platform to make the dreams that we talk about possible as we consolidate all of the networking and the security stack into a single view, to make sure that when we want to put a policy across into like the users who are connecting from everywhere, they will be able to protect all users easily and in unison. So if I were to be a user today, I'm working from home. The next day, I'm working in the office, and then the next day, I need to travel to my branch in Penang. Like, how would it be in terms of the experience? It will be similar across the board, no matter where you are actually trying to connect from into the network to access your applications. And when we talk about security, definitely you will have the best-in-class protection across your on-premise hardware that Meraki will be based on. And on the cloud end, essentially, as your users are connecting remotely from their laptops and stuff, we will also still be able to protect them accordingly through like the threat investigation group that we have called Telos. So this brings me to like the most important part of this webinar, which will actually help you see things and believe that this is something that would make it easier, because very, very importantly, a lot of the times seeing is believing. I think this is something that a lot of us, we can attest to it. And definitely after this webinar, if there is any attendees in this presentation today who would really want to have a further conversation with Cisco, do reach out to us, where we can actually tell you exactly how like a solution like this could be relevant to an organization like yours, and how can we onboard into this journey together. Because more importantly, definitely you have businesses who have just like one site, but it's actually growing very rapidly. Like one of the customers that I actually have spoken to before this webinar. But at the same time, you could be a global enterprise, and you are trying to figure out ways like how best throughout all my sites in Malaysia, throughout all my sites in Thailand, throughout my sites in Europe, in the US, how can I get a singular visibility into like the performance, into like how is there anything that I need to take care of in order to make sure like my network is running smoothly we want to be that platform to realize this dream for you. So when we jump into like this dashboard, you can already see on the left, like we have everything under one single platform, under one belt, where essentially, if you have any users or any clients who are connecting into like the network, whether is it remotely or whether is it within like the network, we can actually already set up like certain policies into ensuring that they will only be able to have the right access capability into like the network, where essentially if your policy is to throttle like things like video and music, like how you would want to put like an enforcement at like certain times of the day only, but after office hours, if they were to stay in the office, they can still connect. In that one, you can actually do that. And how you will want to block like certain applications within the office, you can actually do it. But more importantly, remember I was talking about the quality of experience. If you have selected applications that you really do need to prioritize, like let's say like the productivity softwares, like the database and cloud services that you're trying to onboard into, or even like things like the VoIP or like the video conferencing tools that you may use, very quickly you can actually also set like certain policies to enhance the priority, to make sure that traffic to these applications will be actually prioritized rather than the other applications that it might take up a lot of bandwidth and cause like slowdowns within the network. There is also other capabilities where on the VPN forefront, remember I was talking about SD-WAN, it is a part and parcel for a lot of businesses out there. You are still trying to figure out, hey, I have 5 branches, 10 branches. How can I securely connect between all my branches? How can I connect to my instances that is hosted in Azure, in AWS, in GCP, in Alibaba? How can they be part of my whole network topology to make sure that if I were to want to connect out into like the applications in the cloud, how can it be safe? How can it be secure? Very quickly, this is something that will be able to make your lives a lot easier, because we have one of the industry's simplest VPN out there, where basically instead of like setting up multiple different policies or multiple different things, you just need to click a couple of clicks, click in like what is the networks that within your offices that you want to export out, press the save button. We will take care of all the other technical stuff that could be hard. And more importantly, as part of the SD-WAN architecture, you will be able to securely connect all your different sites into the cloud accordingly. How we do it, it is also something that is really simple. You just need to define what are the applications that you're trying to connect out to, like what are the applications that it's requiring like certain QoS into like the particular application. You just need to define that, and very quickly you will be able to set it up accordingly, and we will monitor the performance of the traffic and ensure that it is going through like the best routes possible. When we talk about ensuring security, on the forefront, Cisco umbrella will actually form a very big part into like the whole architecture we are actually talking about. And more importantly, as and when you want to form a full cloud proxy into like the umbrella data centers, we have the easiest way to build the tunnels and like to define like the right policies as and when you need to connect to all these different sites. Very quickly, everything will be exported across to Cisco umbrella in just a few clicks, rather than something that you might need to spend hours and hours to configure if let's say you have all the different solutions up there, and how you might have like let's say this solution from vendor A, this solution from vendor B, this solution from vendor C. It will be something that will be hard for you to manage eventually. So over here on the umbrella platform, things is really also as simple as I say, where essentially like all the policies, all the content categories, all the application settings, all the different things that you're trying to prevent your users from connecting from, and also how, let's say, if you were to want to ensure that, okay, I wouldn't want to allow any users to connect to like any websites that is known to have like certain malware or like certain policy, certain things that is known to be dangerous in the internet. Very quickly you can just click into like all of all these settings that you have here in order to enforce those settings accordingly. And as a bonus or as a further capability that Cisco Umbrella will be able to provide is really also on things where essentially, if I want to know, like, hey, what are all the shadow IT applications that a user might be using that is not condoned by a business, you will also be able to actually get like visibility into things like this, where essentially it could be like a new application that is definitely not business related or like definitely not like business savvy, that maybe, hey, like for many of the businesses out there, you would want to block all these applications from your users who are connecting anyways. As a bonus to Umbrella, this is also something that has actually gotten a very big limelight from many of our Malaysian customers, where essentially I think through like things like PDPA, there is actually further scrutiny into like, hey, what are all the things that I can actually prevent my users from actually sending out to the network or to the, what do you call it, to like other applications or to other people who are out of the organization, that we also do have like the data loss prevention, data loss protection capability to ensure that, hey, if we were to want to prevent people from actually sending things like IC addresses or like Malaysian phone numbers, we can actually limit them accordingly based on like the data identifiers that we actually already have built in into this platform. So this is also something that we are doing as a bonus, where essentially we are helping you safeguard your data as well. So this brings me to like the part where I really do need to convince you into why Sassy with Meraki will be the one that will make the most sense for an organization like yours. It will really be because of how we are definitely like the proven platform from a lot of organizations out there, that they are, when they are trying to embark onto this journey, they want to keep things simple. They want to have the best in class integrated security. They want to utilize like the world's most trusted SD-WAN provider out there. This is the way to go, where the visibility across the platform, like what I actually showed you guys just now, it will be top notch to none. And you will be able to reduce like your operating costs, and also to empower your staff to actually do more things. We want to build the simplest network platform as much as possible, so that you can have the right driving seat to make your organizational dreams come true. And more importantly, definitely we have like the right statistics across the industry to actually tell you about how many businesses have actually entrusted our services, and what are the things that is actually being utilized to make sure that the Sassy dream, like what we actually talk about, to make sure that the users would stay secure, the users would have the best quality of experience across any device, any workload, anywhere. And very importantly, if you forget anything that I actually talked about throughout this whole webinar, just remember us whenever you eat a pack of instant noodles in a convenience store or as like your late supper. Remember that for Sassy, we are the best provider out there, and we would highly encourage you and to really talk to us about, hey, I want to start like a free trial into like some of the solutions that I actually presented, into like Meraki, into like Cisco Umbrella. Definitely reach out to us. And if you would like to learn more or join like other webinars like this across like the Meraki website, we have a lot of like different other topics or like different other use cases that is very experience focused as well. And more importantly, if you really do need to talk to someone at the end of this webinar, you will also be getting a part where basically it actually says you just want to click on it as part of the survey. You will be able to highlight your desired requirements to talk to Cisco. So we are here. We are looking forward to that, to be honest. All right, I am actually seeing my partner in crime, Rooney, who is going to handle like the Q&A session. Definitely hit me, Rooney. Like, what are the questions that you're actually seeing on the ground? And definitely thank you very much for listening to our webinar today.
Thank you, Derek, for that very interesting and insightful session. Yeah, there are actually a couple of questions from the floor. So the first one, how can an individual normal user protect with Cisco Sassy and get a quick bite on Cisco Sassy?
Okay, definitely when we talk about having like the right portions to like, remember how I was actually talking about how this is a journey, there is a multiple constructs, there is multiple things that you might need to empower your organization to get into like this journey together with us. There are definitely like certain components that maybe you can actually start first, like maybe, all right, your firewall is not up for renewal, your sites, it could be just one site, but I need to have like some basic protection into like my applications that I have using out there. What is like the bare minimum that I can actually do? So definitely like the Cisco umbrella portion, by default, you can actually also use it as one part of the equation. When your organization is ready, you can actually look into how like the network stack, it could be like the next phase, it could be like the next step that you need to look into enhancing and upgrading to make sure that the journey is complete in the end. Yeah, Pune, that will be my answer.
In addition to that, does it have an orchestrations capability and integration with Splunk?
On that portion, yes, we do. We can actually have like the logging capabilities of both ends, like both the umbrella portion and also like the Meraki portion into like a logging tool such as like Splunk in order to have like further insights into like the traffic and to like match like further things. You can do that to Splunk, or alternatively, there is also this platform that is called SecureX that is also meant to simplify all of it together. And the best part of it is it will come free when you have both Meraki and Umbrella together. So it's not something you need to pay more. But yes, we can work with Splunk.
That sounds like a good news, right? When it says can work together. So there's actually interesting questions about how does the whitelist and blacklist work, and does it go by the categories? Example, whether is it in gaming, tobacco, gambling, phishing, or advertising?
That is correct. Like you can either do it based on like a category on both like the on-premise firewall and also on Umbrella. You can do that. Or if let's say you just have like selected categories that you would want to block, let's say you want to block all social media, but somehow you just want to allow Instagram or you just would like to allow Facebook, we can actually whitelist like selected websites to be excluded from that category. Like there will be that capability alongside like how I'm actually showing on both Umbrella and Meraki. Yes.
I see that there are many questions coming in. Do we have time for that? What is the minimal configurations and capital outlay for a small business to benefit from Cisco Sassy without busting their budget? I think we actually have a lot of questions usually from the small businesses are out there here talking about their financing budgeting. Yeah, maybe you can help to address that.
All right. Who here loves like the concept of a happy meal that you can actually go into like a fast food restaurant and you can actually Happy Meal is a trademark of this particular very famous fast food restaurant. We actually do have like a like a bundle, something similar to that, where essentially like the whole basic construct of like this whole Sassy solution, it comes in under just one bundle, under just one very great price. We can even offer things like software leasing or like a capital leasing to ensure that you are able to consume all of these applications or all of these constructs of this Sassy solution in something that is as affordable as possible for many SMEs out there. Cisco is actually empowering a lot of the SMEs and like large corporations alike to embark on journeys like this. Yeah, Uni.
Yeah, thank you for addressing on the financing on the capital leasing there, right? So there's actually two similar questions. How Sassy integrated for zero trust access with using Cisco Meraki and Umbrella?
Very, very good question. Yes, actually, there is also another portion which I know from Bruni's side. She actually has this plan to have like a next webinar to talk about like zero trust access, where essentially all of these things that was presented by Ken Ang in the previous webinar, that is presented by me in this current webinar, and also in the next webinar will form the entire picture into how throughout this journey you want to ensure that your users are actually like having like the right credentials to access all these applications. They will be able, you will actually be able to get like the full insight or like the full picture into guaranteeing this access. Yes, and to many of the attendees out there, if you don't know like what is this term that's called zero trust access, essentially it is like your two-factor authentication that you know when you try to log in into your bank accounts on CIMB, on like Maybank to you or whichever, it's the same concept where you need to click something or we trust no one until it is confirmed that that particular user is the right person with the right credentials to access that application.
Okay,
Very
so
good
in
question.
lieu of time, I'm gonna take in for the last questions. Besides Cisco Umbrella, is there any other threat analytics that can be fit into Meraki?
Yes, definitely. There is also other threat analytics that can actually fit in. So remember last week, I think there was a conversation into like the malware protection piece for endpoints and also like for like the email, how to say security policies that is actually feeding into like, all right, if let's say you have like an email domain, let's say something something at something something.com, which is basically your company domain, any emails that actually sends into that email domain, we can actually have a filter and like basically see like, all right, like what other things that it's not right to be accessed. We actually want to prevent users from accessing those things. It will all form part and parcel of this whole security journey, this whole Sassy journey. And when you embark with Cisco Meraki, when you embark with Cisco as a whole, when we talk about the security offerings that Cisco has, we definitely have one of the most comprehensive ones in the entire industry. So we strongly attest, I strongly empower you. Like we will really want you to actually strike a conversation with us to see how, based on the requirements that you may have, where and how we would actually be able to assist you throughout this journey. We would really want to do that for you. Yes,
Yep,
Winnie.
thanks. Yes, thanks, Derek. That's all we have. I think because we are actually pressing for a lot of for the time. Yeah, so I'll actually pass on to the star group. Thank you very much, Derek.
Thank you, Winnie.
Thank you, Derek, for the wonderful presentation and for your great sharing on Sassy. And thanks, Winnie, for moderating the Q&A with Derek. Our sincere apology if we couldn't get through all the questions, but we are grateful for all your questions and comments, and we are definitely humble and honored with everyone's participation at this webinar. Before we end, I have one final request, and that is to share your thoughts with us about this webinar by completing a short survey. You may scan the QR code as shown on the screen or complete the survey to complete the survey, or go to bit.ly/Cisco16NOV North survey. Your feedback is important for us to keep providing you with better event experience. As promised, once you have completed the survey, you will be in the run to win 500 ringgit worth of GrabFood vouchers. You'll receive a winner's email if your survey completion has been selected as one of the prize draw winners. That's not it. Anyone who has completed the survey will also be able to gain access to an exclusive network security guide. And if you would like to arrange for a follow-up session with a Cisco representative to discuss any of your organizational challenges or business concerns, you may indicate it in the survey too. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Star Media Group, thank you once again for your participation and for staying with us till the end of the session. We would also like to thank our partner Cisco for coming with us to make this webinar a success. We look forward to hosting you again at the next Star Media Group's event. Till then, take care, stay safe, and stay safe. Cheers.